Welcome, and thanks for joining us. Today we'd like to talk about how Pearson Writer supports and empowers student writers. Pearson Writer began with a question: how can we develop a new kind of writer's reference and guide that students will want to use? How can we provide information, resources, and advice for college writers in the moment and in the context of their actual writing practices? So Students First has been our motto all along. We've talked with students, we've shared ideas and prototypes, and we've gotten feedback from them based on their writing processes. We learned as much as we could, and we built Pearson Writer to respond to what they told us. We designed Pearson Writer to be used by students in an independent and self-directed way, on their smartphones or on their laptops, as they were looking for quick answers to specific questions in the context of working on a particular writing project. As educators, you may be interested in learning how Writer helps students develop the kind of writing skills and practices that they need to succeed in college and beyond. So that's the focus of this presentation. Now, many writing instructors are familiar with the Council of Writing Program Administrators and their outcomes for first-year composition. The WPA outcomes provide a shared baseline for best practices and core skills in college writing instruction, and many schools and many writing programs directly or indirectly shape their course learning goals around the language of the WPA outcomes. So we'll use the WPA's framework here to talk about how Pearson Writer can be used in the context of other course materials to support students' progress toward the learning outcomes. As I'm sure you are aware, the WPA outcomes are not written as a list of tasks or to-dos that students check off on their progress toward writing mastery. The outcomes are instead written as a series of concepts and principles that support effective learning. The Council itself describes the outcomes as, quote, the common knowledge, skills, and attitudes sought by first-year composition programs in American post-secondary education. The WPA outcomes focus on 5 key themes: rhetorical knowledge, critical thinking, reading and writing, process, knowledge of conventions, and composing in electronic environments. Let's look at each of these in turn and consider some of the ways students using Pearson Writer are guided toward applying the principles embodied in the outcomes in their own writing and learning. We do want to be clear: Pearson Writer is intended to be a student-directed tool, and students will pick up and use its features and tools in their own ways. Pearson Writer is not assignment-driven or outcomes-driven in the same way a course management system or lab might be. But in the context of a writing course in a composition program or a writing intensive course in another discipline, a student using Pearson Writer is definitely going to be steered toward using and thinking about best practices in her own writing and research. Because Pearson Writer pulls together a set of tools that encompass the whole writing process, from researching a topic through drafting and revising to final editing, it pulls students toward a more complex, recursive, and thoughtful process. So let's explore how, by taking each of the 5 WPA themes in sequence. Now, rhetorical knowledge focuses on concepts like audience and purpose and emphasizes the need for students to compose in response to specific readers in specific situations. Core concept learning modules on purpose, audience, and other elements of the rhetorical situation can be found in the Writer's Guide. You see on screen here an example of a core concept on the topic of purpose. Each core concept module includes basic instruction, a video or audio tutorial, and a quick check self-assessment for students to validate their own learning. Conventions of format and genre are addressed in several ways. General strategies for arrangement and genre are presented in core concepts. Interactive model documents, such as the example shown here, are included for many common genres and types of papers. These interactive model documents, like this example, are complete sample student papers representing common genres taught in first-year comp and in other disciplines. Students interact with the documents by selecting a particular theme. They can choose organization, style, research, or format, and then use color-coded highlights in the document to explore different sections of the paper. Clicking on colored highlights in the text reveals annotations that explain how the author of the document has used genre conventions appropriate to the purpose and situation. Voice, tone, and related local style issues are covered in detail in the grammar section under the language usage and style menu. And students can use the writing review features to get specific feedback on grammar and style that can help guide their own editing and revising processes. Now, critical thinking, reading, and writing is the second main theme of the WPA outcomes, and we all know how important these skills are for college writers. Pearson Writer itself is a type of critical thinking tool. Students using it have an opportunity to practice planning, organizing, developing, and revising writing projects of various kinds. By encouraging students to reflect on the ways they use Pearson Writer, instructors can help support students in using a metacognitive approach to reflect on their own literacy and research practices. Students can also use the My Projects tools to plan steps and tasks related to any writing project they like. Core concept learning modules provide instructions on finding, evaluating, synthesizing, paraphrasing, and integrating source material and ideas from other writers. And students can use the Find a Source features to search, locate, and filter sources from academic journals and other reputable sources for use in their papers. Now, in terms of process, the WPA outcomes propose that students need to, quote, be aware that it usually takes multiple drafts to create and complete a successful text. Pearson Writer encourages and supports exactly this kind of recursive writing process. Students using the My Projects tools are prompted to plan, develop, organize, revise, and edit papers in a multi-step process that helps to nudge them out of the one draft and done mindset. Revision and peer reviewing receive extensive treatment in the Writer's Guide, and a series of student-to-student videos demonstrate the process of working through peer review and revision on a sample student paper. Students using the writing review tools receive specific local feedback on work in progress that they can learn to model in their own responses to peers as well as in their own drafts. And visual rhetoric and related technologies of document design are covered in the Writer's Guide. Knowledge of conventions, the fourth of the main topic areas covered in the WPA outcomes, is supported by Pearson Writer in several ways. Students can explore many of the interactive model documents to learn common formats for many genres and types of texts in a range of disciplinary contexts. These documents are annotated in detail to illustrate conventions of organization, research, documentation, style, and format. Strategies for organizing paragraphs are covered in the Writer's Guide, along with many sample paragraphs of various types. MLA, APA, Chicago, and CSE documentation styles are covered in extensive detail in the Writer's Guide. Students can also use the Cite a Source tool to gather and cite sources for a paper. Students using the automated citation features are prompted to check and edit their citations in order to avoid over-reliance on the technology. We are continuously adding coverage of other discipline-specific documentation styles, including AP style for journalism and ACS style used in chemistry. Corresponding to the final outcome suggested by the WPA, students using Pearson Writer are actively engaged in composing in an electronic environment. Teachers can help support reflective practice by prompting students to reflect upon and write about their experiences. Students who are also using Pearson Writer in conjunction with My Writing Lab or a similar CMS will gain the added benefit of using a fully digital environment for the entire composing process. Additionally, students using Find a Source and related research tools in Pearson Writer are given guided practice in searching, accessing, filtering, and incorporating source material located through reliable academic databases. So I want to thank you for your time, and thanks for listening to this survey of the WPA outcomes and how they are related to Pearson Writer. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website shown here at pearsonhighered.com/writer, or you can also contact your local Pearson campus rep. Thanks for listening.